The Search for Lost Species. This is your review for 2. Good day, my name is Joe. Today we'll be going over The Search for Lost Species and how it plays with 2 players. Now, The Search for Lost Species is a competitive deduction game for 1 to 4 players. This is the second kind of game. If you've heard for Search for Planet X, this is kind of the successor to Search for Planet X. I'll go over a little bit later kind of some of the differences, but let's dive in to this deduction game. So in The Search for Lost Species, you're trying to find, well, the lost species and 2 other spaces around it on this island board. You're going to be taking turns, going to different villages, taking a boat around the island, trekking it across foot, or setting up a camera trap, all while trying to deduce where some of these animals are. You may have the lorikeets, which are in a certain diamond shape. Where on this board are these lorikeets? You're going to be looking for frogs or toads. You're going to be looking for the python. You're going to be looking for these couscous. The python's over by himself, but he's not next to the couscous. The couscous are near each other, but in certain patterns. A little bit different from the Search for Planet X are there these mountains which make things not adjacent. So you really have to search. You get when you do like a certain action, you have to click on the app. You have to use a phone app for this. Search which places you're going to search and say I'm searching for toads. And they'll say how many toads are in that area. You'll be able to mark that on your map, start knocking off things that can and can't be in certain spaces. And you can go to these village spaces for a little bit of extra village action. This is kind of different from the Search for Planet X. It's a little bit bonus. They may give you bonus at the end of the game or bonuses you can do throughout the game. But you're essentially trying to find this lost species. Once you find the lost species, the game is over. And whoever has the most points wins the game. Now, just because you found the lost species doesn't mean you win the game if the other person knows so much more information and has placed out their search tokens a lot previously. Just a really neat deduction game, which I'll get to in a second. But let's get into my thoughts about this game. So the components in this game, I really do like it. Everything, I like the kind of sheets they give you, and which kind of goes into the rules and references. And the references are in the inside of all these kind of player aids, and I really like it. It goes through all the actions that you're going to do, really specifies, here's a couple examples. I love that about this game. One knock a little bit is as far as the rule book, it did a really good job, but there was a couple issues on the rules were a little bit thicker for this game than the Search for Planet X, so it was a little bit more rules overhead, but the references, once you've played once, the references are great. Components I really like. The components, they give you this boat. Not really sure how I feel about the boat. It holds just some of the tokens on it, and they're all right in general. They went for tried a full kind of plant-based, eco-friendly game. A lot of the packaging is in paper if you care about those things. Let's go over the setup and table size. Setup won't take you very long at all, maybe 3 to 5 minutes. You do need an app, so that you do have to spend about a minute on the app setting up the game. You also need to be sitting orthogonally on the board. You can be sitting next to somebody, but you don't want to be able to peek with them. But you do have to kind of sit opposite or sit, perpendicular to them, so you get some 90-degree, because you do have to have different orientations depending on how you're going to see it. But setup and table size. Setup doesn't take long. Table size, this can be played on a 3x3, but it's nice to have a little bit of space, if you know what I mean. So the gameplay in this is, it's a lot of fun. I like deduction games. If you don't like deduction games, a little bit of a brain burner as far as just this is here, not next to this, but over here. It can't be over here because X, Y, and Z. This is a great game. I put on the same vein, Turing Machine, Search for Planet X, Lost Species, The Alchemist. All 4 of those are great deduction games, but this is kind of a board gamer's deduction game. you do have to spend a little bit of time because you are going to be moving your character around the mountain. I can't find something about the other side of the island until I physically move over there, where if I have to kind of plan my actions a little bit more. There's also these village cards where they give you a little bit of information, but you also get a little bit of bonus. You can game kind of the game a little bit. Where the Search for Planet X, you are really just searching for those certain planets and the things out there. But here, you're trying to find the lost species, but these can also give you just points. They may give you points for the couscous or a certain animal that you're looking for. And if you find all three, well, that's 3 extra points, that you can rack up throughout the game. So a little bit more gamesmanship within this game. And I really like how it's done. The animal theme kind of resonated with us. So the game took us 1 hour and 20 minutes when we played this, and that was a perfect amount of time. That was just enough to think, oh, I think I know where it's at, to, ooh, I really need to narrow this down. Because as you're moving across the board, you have to put these search tokens down. You can give the opponent some information, but that's how you score points. So how much information do you give them? Versus if you're the first one there, you score points. But, a lot of just the gamesmanship and deduction kind of wrapped into one. And in 1 hour and 20 minutes, we just had a good time. You can definitely grab this off the shelf, play one game, and feel satisfied. That's what I like about some of the games like this is I can pull this off the shelf and just play anytime we want. Same thing with Seven Wonders Duel, and there's Azul. There's all these different games where they don't need to sit on the table all the time, and I like that about this game. So in about 1 hour and a half, you can get a great deduction board game experience with the Search for Lost Species. So how does this game play with 2 players? And I really like it. There are a couple times where the other person's really thinking about what they want to do, and that's okay because the games are still pretty quick. There are only 3 people are going to go in 2 players. You, your opponent, or the expedition leader who's going to move around the board and really just say, put down your search tokens, try to search the board for them. Or it's going to give you a conference, which will get everybody more information. Or there's a couple of spaces where you're going to take your town actions and you're setting up your camera actions back to your hand. But other than that, it's just a back and forth. When one person moves, depending on the action they're going to do, whoever's further back is going to get the next turn. It's occasional that one person gets 2 turns back to back, but it's really a lot of leapfrogging for the most part throughout the game. So the gameplay is quick with 2 players. I didn't feel like this needed more players, but I would be glad to play with my buddies of Dads and Dice. This would be a great 3-player game. Probably a little bit longer than the Search for Planet X. You do have to move a little bit. There's a little bit more to think about. There's some of these cards to pick up. Just a little bit more game here. So if you want a quicker deduction game and you're really into the space theme, the Search for Planet X is just fine. You do not need them both, in my opinion, but I'm really glad that we have the Search for Lost Species because it's just a lot of fun. I really enjoy this as a 2-player game, but I think I would enjoy this as a multiplayer game too, with more than 2. 4 would start getting into that. I'm kind of waiting for my turn. I know what I'm going to do. But 2 and 3, I could see this game really shining at. Really enjoyed my time with 2. Once again, I really like deduction games. Not everybody is going to like deduction games, but if you want kind of a more in-depth kind of Search for Planet X, Search for Lost Species is great. But if you want just a straight deduction game without a little bit, they're not even fiddly part, just more to it, then the Search for Planet X may be a better place to start. But I really like this. We have a good time. This isn't going to leave the collection. I can grab this off the shelf and we can play, when we're deciding a game, grab it, and within 1 hour and a half, hour 45, we can have this game done, full complete experience, and have a good time finding some of these lost species. So really enjoyed this game for 2. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the review, and until next time.